Well, the beauty of art is in the freedom of expression, but when this expression is believed to be wrongly interpreted by the people it's meant to teach or entertain, there may be the need for a redress. Nigeria has recorded a spate of killings of the old and young in recent months, supposedly for money rituals. Many in the country believe these rituals are being promoted by the local film-making industry. Now, these home videos, which are make-believe, are accused of passing the wrong message to the people and opening their minds to the rewards of blood-spilling rituals. While some have argued that there is nothing efficacious about money rituals, the Nigerian government has called for the regulation of movies having money ritual scenes. Today on VSA, we'll unpack the decision of the Nigerian government and what its impact will be. Welcome, I'm Sulaiman. Well, the Nigerian movie industry is the biggest in Africa and one of the biggest in the world in terms of volume of productions. Now, some of these movies have gone on to become classics and is an industry growing in leaps and bounds, brimming with greatness in its past, present, and future. Tons of movies have come out of the Nigerian movie industry and they pass different messages. Since time, these home videos have projected the money ritual arts of some Nigerians. They make movies of them and show that the end is gruesome. The beauty of some of these movies and its iconic inclination has led to sequels of such movies made. Examples like Living in Bondage comes to mind. Some actors are known to be masters of such roles. They've been typecast into perfection and their legendary status are known for these make-believe money ritual roles. The expression of their art is free and limitless, but in the face of changing social perception and a rather unfortunate downturn in societal impact, the impacts these movies make are different now. Joining me to unpack these, I'm excited having some of Nigeria's best in the industry with us today. Segun Arinze, who's also the president of Voice-Over Artists of Nigeria, and Victor Okhai, he's the president, Directors Guild of Nigeria, and Kanayo Nollywood actor and a legal practitioner. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. I can as well imagine what's going through the minds of practitioners since the government and perhaps plenary started, pointing accusing fingers at the Nollywood, industry. Let's start with you because you're also a lawyer. Kanayo, what came to mind when you first saw Parliament? Some parliamentarians talk about the Nigerian movie industry as one of the reasons why some young Nigerians have taken the left turn into money rituals.
Thank you, Sulaiman. Thank you, viewer, for having me. I'm happy to be on the program. I have made my research and I have spoken to one or two persons at the National Assembly, especially with the man who moved the motion on the floor of the House of the Representatives, Honorable Toby Okechukwu. He made inferences to the need for the National Assembly to look into the unwanted killings, and especially ritual killings in Nigeria, and how to remove it from the angle of being a menace. And he did identify several sectors or several persons and several areas of society who should be contributing more. And he said the National Orientation Agency, which is an agency of government, has a very big role to play in what reformation of society they are doing. The religious leaders have their role to play. Nollywood has also shown what is termed as a contribution, and then the media also, and so on. He did move this motion on the floor of the House to see a way of providing solutions. He did not indict Nollywood. He said part of what people watch especially some people who alluded that they had watched some videos, videos they did not attribute to Nollywood. So when people begin to put it on the floor of Nollywood as being responsible for ritual killings in Nigeria, I think it's absurd. Nollywood has, for the time it's been known in Nigeria, built a story around social realism. It is what we see on ground that makes our movies. Before I came to Lagos from my village, I never had ritual killings. There was no Nollywood then, in the 70s. The society has moved on and on and on, and the ritual killings is pervading, becoming a menace. What we must take to heart here is that the social realism we try to depict in our films shows that at the end of every film, darkness or light will always overshadow darkness. But the problem is this. People begin to take information the way they want to take it. Nollywood has tried a lot to not just bring the image of this country to a better. We have tried in our best ways to tell our stories by ourselves to our own people in the language they understand, and they've been understanding it. We have played more socio-economic roles than any other industry in this country. It's an industry that's built from scratch without anybody's government's support. So individuals need to be encouraged. So having said that, I want to allow others to say, but I will say on this note that it is the socio-economic realities of Nigeria that's leading people into crime, hunger and poverty.
You know, Kanayo, I'll come back to you, Kanayo, but the good thing is that you've done something that, you know, a lot of journalists should have also done. But again, we'll also try as much as possible to reach out to the lawmaker who made that, you know, remark on the floor of the National Assembly, because categorically he actually was pointing at accusing fingers. But the good thing is that your reaching out has sort of clarified issues, which is very important here. Let's bring in Victor, who's the president of Guild of Directors Guild of Nigeria. Victor, you're also a journalist, and I know when that news first broke, even some radio stations have, you know, talked about Nollywood as one of the causes, even though we've always had this debate back and forth. As Kanayo said, it's a reflection of a society, and ultimately, every movie has shown that evil can't triumph over good. So, how did you react to the news first that the government is, you know, also talking to the Nollywood, you know, industry to see how they can do away, that's the word, do away with such scenes which, as Kanayo said, could be a reflection of our society?
Thank you very much, Sulaiman. When I first heard the news, it was laughable. I recall, and I'm sure you know the word bomo bomo. Do you remember that word? Huh? I'm asking. You remember the word bomo bomo?
Go ahead.
No, seriously. So we can engage as we talk. That word predates Nollywood as is today. And these were kidnappers. It was a combination of kidnapping and ritual killing. And so this is something that has always been a part of our society. What Nollywood does, Kanayo said something, talked about Nollywood engaging in, if you like, or showing social reality. Basically what we're doing is capturing a moment in time if you like, for future generations. Because 100 years from now, people want to know how we live, the kind of houses we live in, the food we eat, the way we were dressing at this time, and all that. One of the easiest references you will find are through photographs, newspaper reports, or the media, and movies. Okay? Now, when this news broke out, I just started wondering to myself. I started hearing bomo bomo, even from neighborhoods. People say, be careful, you might be kidnapped. Okay? We hear newspapers report, we hear radio report about these ritual killings. All they were doing was just telling us what was going on, creating an awareness so that people are alert and then they take care. You see, so when a lawmaker stands up and says that we're the ones that are amplifying it, I'm really wondering. If anything, I don't want to shift blames or anything, but we do know that if you want to find out 1,000 ways to commit suicide today, you won't find it in Nollywood. If you go to social media, you will find it. If you want to find out how to use kayamata to entrap a man or a woman, you won't find it in Nollywood. You will find it on the net. If you want to find out how to do 419 and all that, the easiest place to research, real-time online, is online. I don't know how Nollywood has come into the picture and suddenly become the whipping boys. And I just saw in the media today that the Minister of Information was giving an order. Well, that's how one of the papers reported it, ordering us to stop, making movies that show ritual. I think that the problem of Nigeria is much more than that. What we do, and Kanayo said so quite clearly, is we show what is not good and we show repercussions. When we show robbery, the robbers always get, the law always catches up with them in the end. When we show evil ritual killings, they always pay dearly in the end. That's how we tell our stories. Would you say that the Hollywood movies are responsible, for instance, for the rising crime in the United States, the killings and all that? Would you say that, Hollywood movies are responsible for promoting, sexual immorality in America?
Let me bring in. Sorry, Victor. Let me bring in Segun here, and it would also amaze you that the moment leading up to this program, we've gotten a lot of responses from people across the continent, in Kenya, in Ghana, and of course another here in Nigeria. Segun, and one of the key concerns by a security expert, he goes saying that, look, a government whose approach to everything is to ban, stop, seize, arrest, close, suspend, shouldn't the government be thinking that our movies are a mirror of our society, just as if Kanayo saw that particular comment coming from the African sending this in? Should we ban the news media because stories are mostly about public sector corruption? So, Segun, actors like you have said that they can't be blamed for what the society makes of your movies. So what do you think the country is getting wrong here?
Well, good evening, and thank you for having me. KOK summed it up with what he said. And also Victor Okhai, he had the days of Gomo Gomo, he had the days of robbery. KOK has talked about the research and all that. But in all of this, I asked the question, why blame Nollywood? Why was Nollywood be the whipping boy for all this it just doesn't sit with us. And if you even look at it, the kind of films that have been coming out of Nollywood of recent are very decent films. We've gone way past rituals. We've gone way past rituals. A boy said he was.
I think there's a glitch to that.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Well, I think there's a glitch to your connection. Perhaps our producers will need to reestablish that call to Segun so that Segun can make his point. Let's quickly go to Kanayo. Kanayo, I think you set the ball rolling to the extent that your colleagues and some Africans are already on the same page with you. But the theme here is that shouldn't the government, because you made mention of an agency of government, the National Orientation Agency, has there been a time, where government, until now, perhaps, has reached out to form of, now that's a question someone has sent in, to appreciate what Nollywood is doing by showcasing the ills of the society and as well letting the people know that evil can never triumph over good? Well, we'll come back to you, Victor. Looks like Kanayo is also not there. Quickly, the issue here is that looking at the decision or the move coming from the government, will you consider that a well-analyzed, one by the Nigerian government? That's a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria who's spoken. Well, it will seem as if that's more or less like an admonition. But if that were to be, what sort of communication do you expect from the government to that industry player?
Well, I'm surprised that they even, there are agencies of government that have engaged with Nollywood, even in the recent past. I'll give you a small example. We've had a couple of engagements on the area of showing tobacco on television, in movies. We have had engagements and with the leadership and with our members. The public didn't hear about it. That, to me, is a more sensible way of engaging the industry. If you want us to begin to either promote something or to play down something using our medium, because we're using our money to do these things, I would expect a more respectful and meaningful engagement, like the people, the anti-tobacconists who have engaged with us, for instance. You don't go to the media out there and begin to order. We're not their houseboys. We are running our businesses and we're telling our stories. We're storytellers. We're not government propaganda. They're not paying us to do propaganda. If they want to do movies for propaganda, they should fund it. Okay? So I would expect that if they want to do things, the National Orientation Agency is there. That's an almost, I don't know if it even exists at all. Agencies like that should be able to do the work of propaganda for government. They don't expect us to do it for them. So I would expect a meaningful engagement. Help us to do this, help us to do that. And we see ourselves as partners and then see how we can do it. Not to come and begin to accuse us or begin to order us or begin to place bans. It doesn't work. And like you rightly said, you cannot, the response to everything is not wielding the big stick. Some people say something on Twitter, you ban Twitter. Somebody says something on social media, you ban it. Now, one or two people are kidnapped, and then you now go after. Are we responsible for Boko Haram, for instance? You think people who are doing Boko, who are the terrorists in the Northeast, have time to even watch movies or even television? They're too busy. They don't have time for what we do, and yet they engage. Or is it the people, the kidnappers who are in the forest that have time to watch movies? What time do they have? And yet, if we get up to show what they're doing, and perhaps to show Nigerians, how to avert or how to protect themselves, then government in its overzealousness, instead of doing proper information dissemination, which is their duty, will now begin to look for whipping boys and look for victims. In Nollywood. I don't think that's right at all.
So in other words, Victor, this goes back again to lack of information and will to confront the challenges that the country is facing at the moment from the side of the government.
Well, yes, to a very large extent. I think that our government information managers, if I may talk about them, because they're the ones that are relevant to what we're talking about now, should become more proactive. You have seen cases where, I'll give you a small example. But thank God there are changes in recent times. Time was when the police would say, oh, you're not representing us well and all that. And they never bothered to engage us. NYC recently decided to come talk to us and say, look, we would like you to, they engage us and say, we would like you to represent us in a better light. You can see the movie, without mentioning names here, but you know the movie that was financed by the Nigerian Air Force. I mean, look at that. They put their aircraft, put everything at the disposal of the filmmaker, and a beautiful movie came out of it. That is the kind of positive engagement I expect. That's the kind of partnership I expect. In Hollywood, for instance, government understands that, the American government understands that Hollywood is a propaganda machinery. And so they engage. They put everything at the disposal of Hollywood because they know that when you put all that machinery out there, you are sending a signal out there that you don't toy with Americans. But that is only because they have engaged with that particular industry. They facilitate. They make things easy. They don't just give orders. They don't say, thou shalt not. We are not, I repeat it, we are not children. We are a critical sector of the economy. We are a professional group like any other, whether bankers, lawyers, the medical profession, and we should be given the respect that we deserve. If anything, Nollywood has helped to, the PR Nollywood has given to Nigeria as a country is much more than I can say for any other. The only one close to it is sports, which is seasonal. And then the creative economy or creative industry, music and Nollywood have done so much more for this government, and they should be grateful.
Let's bring in Kanayo. Kanayo, good to see you back again. Apologies for that glitch to the, on the connection to yours. Listening to Victor, some of the key things people are already asking, because you made mention of Nigeria's National Orientation Agency, a key government agency that should, as a matter of fact, be doing some of the key things that Nollywood has been doing. Would you say the government is running away from its responsibilities and plucking the low fruits?
Of course, it's obvious that the government, through the Minister of Information, is not living up to the responsibilities. I want to ask you, Sulaiman, as a fellow Nigerian, how many times in the past 3-4 years have you heard a statement emanating from the National Orientation Agency to reform the youths of Nigeria, who form the critical element of those who talk and they are heard easily? The National Orientation Agency of government, as long as I'm concerned, exists only on paper. We need to have a National Orientation Agency of government that has a youth engagement section of these young men and women whose hands are looking for things to do. When you have an occasion where people get information and the way they understand it is the way they think minimally it should be understood. All you need to do, like for instance, what the minister has done, never called a meeting of the stakeholders of the industry, never asked the National Orientation Agency for its contribution of what to do, never asked the opinion of the media, and goes ahead to issue a statement of ban. Of course, the minister cannot ban the contents. He can only, as a matter of public policy, say it should not be going this way. But legally speaking, he cannot. For the past 4 or 5 years, as far as I know, I've never heard anything emanating from the National Orientation Agency. And that's bad for the people who look up to us, especially with the upsurge of what they get from the social media. Nollywood has tried on its own to preach the message, the same message that people were clapping their hands from 2010 to 2015. How come it just turned around now and we're being vilified?
And you know, Kanayo, sorry to cut you there. Let me jump in here. And you know, it takes just an individual, you know, to start, you know, such an is giving, you know, wings to fly. That's why I'm going to ask you this: how does this kind of, you know, conversation affect the local industry?
Well, of course, you know how it's going to affect the local industry. First, this is a breach on the fundamental rights of creative writers, either as actors or producers or screenwriters, as captured in Section 39 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999. Section 39 gives a Nigerian the freedom of expression. And that's why you have government agencies like the National Film and Video Censors Board to censor. Regulation does not work in this sense. What have we done in the industry that you're regulating? So when you look at it critically, from the angle of fundamental rights breach, it's not workable. It's going to, now to your question, a lot of people are going to be thrown out of work. Creative writers. It's going to reduce the value and volume of what we give to society. Any industry that's going to be regulated as the Minister of Information wants it done now cannot preach a message that people should listen to. So it has a cross of a way of affecting both practitioners, both non-practitioners. Don't forget, you may see the Kanayo or Kanayos as the faces you see on TV, but behind the screen, you have a lot of people. Hotels, costume makers, wardrobe, production managers, directors, whose livelihood depend on the industry. And for your information, most of the people who have retired from the other services of the economy come to Nollywood to retire better. So the critical mass of people this is going to affect. I know people who were very honest in the civil service. They never got a car after they left. They bought their first car after they came into Nollywood. So Nollywood has not only provided jobs, has provided welfare for everybody. The only industry that accepts you, whether you're a Christian or Muslim, whether you're educated or not, this is the only industry. Whether you can speak English or not, you have a role to play. You can't come out and say you are banning. It is very, very cowardly for the minister to say he's banning Nollywood.
I can readily
specify not to be broadcast.
Kanayo, let me jump in here. I can readily, you know, I can feel your passion. I can feel the disappointment and the pain. You're right, because we've actually seen some Nigerians, especially those in journalism, who retired and moved into Nollywood, and they were fantastic, you know, in that art. Notably, Jim Lawson Madueke, who was one of Nigeria's finest broadcaster of blessed memory, and of course, Vitalis Undubisi, who's still very much around. Let's come to you, Victor. Listening to Kanayo, some of the key things now, he's been able to stretch it, and you could readily see some of the disruption that a mere statement, there's no law yet, but a mere statement could cause disruption. And I'm thinking, you're the president of Guild of Directors, perhaps some people are on location, script writing, you know, production already going. Who knows? With such scenes captured, what could that mean to these people who are already, you know, having the production?
See, what if, you know, if this trend is not hemmed in or cut short, very soon we will begin to have to take permission before. In fact, they will soon begin to tell us to bring our scripts. for them to approve before we go on location to go and shoot. I think it is wrong. You just mentioned the word disruption because already now this is what is currently trending right now. And when we're telling our stories, obviously people have already shot, then you find a situation where you begin to wonder now, should I go forward or not? See the money I've spent already. What happens? Should I start rewriting my script? Meanwhile, I've booked and I've shot so many scenes. So it can create a lot of mental and physical disruption. But over and above that, creativity is not something that you regulate. It's not something that, this is spontaneous. This is something that, you can't even put a price to, What I expect in a situation like this is, and whether we like it or not, some of these people we're looking at, and I dare say this, Nollywood does not practice it, but you'll be shocked that some of the people who are even criticizing Nollywood are secretly watching pornography, in the privacy of their rooms or on their phones, and then tomorrow they will start blaming society for, blaming Nollywood for things that happen. When any of them gets caught or anything, then they'll begin to blame it on Nollywood. And yet, this is not, Nollywood doesn't do this, So I expect that we should go, generally, people in government should be more responsible in the kind of things that they say, the kind of decisions that they take, that they make, and there should be constructive engagement. But more importantly, government should be ready to put its money where its mouth is. If you want a change, then begin to finance the kind of change that you want. Begin to finance movies, put money down for movies, and then you can be a gatekeeper there by determining the kind of movies that you want to finance and stop disrupting the businesses and the kind of things that we do in our industry.
Well, veteran comedian Ali Baba is contributing to this conversation, and he's wondering if the government has been able to effect, its order on public spraying of money as well. Perhaps maybe because that also involves the politician and those in government. And he's also saying who will also place a ban on election rigging in movies, broken marriages in movies, domestic violence in movies, ban robbery, and even ballot snatching. And he went on, a long list that will actually make you think and ask yourself from where this is coming from. Now, let's talk more about some of the key things, because some others are asking, someone in Kenya is asking, aren't you going to ask Kanayo some personal questions? Well, Kanayo, they come in, it's not every day we have Kanayo on live television. You're a lawyer. Perhaps if someone in Kenya is asking us to ask you something personal, we should be able to ask how you were able to move from the screen. You're still very much there, but how was it easy or difficult for you to get a law degree?
All right, nothing good comes easy. And I'll tell you to that extent that I've always wanted to be a lawyer. Even I was at 1994, 95, when the University of Lagos offered me admission to read philosophy. It was my wife who convinced me to go ahead and get it going. But all the while, I have always wanted to study law. So when the opportunity came in this time around, I took it. And I dedicated my life, my essence, and my being, everything to study. And by the grace of God, in 2020, September 2020, I was called to the Nigerian bar as a barrister and solicitor to the Supreme Court of Nigeria. And that's part of one of the things I wanted to achieve in life. So it didn't come on a platter of gold. It involved sacrifices, it involves commitment, it involved devotion, it involved a whole lot of things. And I think that's the greatest sacrifice I made for my moving forward.
Before we go back to Victor quickly here, you have so many faces now, because sometimes I look at people like yourself. You're a lawyer, here you are speaking with us, and again, there's another Kanayo when he's on set. How does it feel when you meet people? Do they sometimes ask you about some of the roles you've played? For instance, rituals or some other things that you've played out, as an actor?
When you're on a set for people to ask questions, some even meet you on the street and ask you questions about how you've been able to play roles, have you been under attack? That's why I say we should be commended by government for this expose we've been doing for many years. So people ask you questions. You laid in a coffin. Are you not afraid to be in a coffin? I said, it's part of the job.
I was going to ask that. Personally, I was going to ask you that.
It's the job I do that puts food on the table. That's why this discourse is important. Lai Mohammed, as Minister of Information, should go after the man in Anambra State who took young men to the river and they were killing chicken live. They were killing goats. Our own is mimicking. No chicken is ever killed in a movie. No goat is killed. No ram is slaughtered. And then people call out young men in the society and they put it on video and the government does nothing. And they come out after an industry that provides millions of jobs. I think it's wrongly placed. And let me also tell you one thing on this note. I think the Minister of Information has no respect for the National Assembly. Because if he had respect for the National Assembly has set up a committee on this particular topic and given the committee a time of 4 weeks to come back with this report. How come 10 days or 12 days after the minister is making this pronouncement? It is lack of respect from one arm of government to the other. So we are providing this our own contribution to national development, and our people. I wouldn't tell you as a lawyer that we have all done 100% right in Nollywood. No industry would say that, and I will admit that we have done more good to Nigeria than any other sector.
Let me good thing, Segun has joined us via phone. Looks like the connection around his location has been, topsy-turvy. Segun, good to have you back again. And again, quickly, what new methods are being devised to help youth get the message more clearly? Because it looks, first listening to Kanayo and Victor, it looks more or less as if we had to take the blame back to the government. Perhaps those you turn out from your schools have not been able to understand clearly or comprehend what they see in movies. How can actors like yourself help make these things more easy for understanding?
Well, first and foremost, I think what's happening here is giving the dog a bad name in order to hang it, and then chasing shadows. That's what I see that's happening there. Because, like Kanayo and Victor rightly said, they made all the points that I had. It's an industry that was built by sweat and blood, not one contribution, no one support from government when we started out. And like I was saying before, I was caught off. The movies that are even coming out from Nollywood these days that have nothing to do with rituals and all that. I was going to tell you that a young man said he Googled, I saw on Facebook or was it on YouTube, how to use humans for sacrifice. So I'm asking myself the question, so is Nollywood now responsible for that? The next question I ask is, all the girls that, I'm saying this with due respect, that most of these members of the National Assembly and all the big men carry and all that, and we see them flaunt around. Is it Nollywood that's teaching them how to do that? All the things that are happening in the society, is it Nollywood that's teaching them how to do that? Harry Potter was a very successful movie on witchcraft and sorcery, and what it will the British will Hollywood blame who would Hollywood blame for that? The British government and American government will blame Hollywood for sorcery and witchcraft. A lot has just been said that just to tarnish Nollywood, and I don't think it's fair. I think this is a time for the National Orientation Agency and its allied partners and all, including also Nollywood, to come to the round table, sit down, judge, and talk. These youths are watching the state. They watch films. They see things outside Nollywood, things that are not within Nollywood, within our purview. They see these things, and they take on them. I saw a video. I don't know if you saw it, Victor. I saw and Sulaiman as well. I saw a video of 3 young boys talking that if you want to do blood money, don't use your mama or don't use your father.
It actually went viral.
So you blame Nollywood for that too? Come on, let's get serious. Let's stop chasing shadows. We know where the fault is, and let's dig in. Remember the days of Mamsa? We are all Mamsa people. The orientation and all that. It's time for us to dig in and try and solve this problem out rather than laying blames on the doorstep of Nollywood. We are just professionals who have done so well for ourselves to even launder the image of this country. And I don't think it's fair for them to come now and put that on us and say that Nollywood is responsible for the number of rituals going on. I think it's the most unfair statement by anybody, whether privately or in government. It is so wrong and absurd. It's time for us to come together as a Ministry of Information and Culture, the National Research Agency, the House of Assembly, both Senate and the House of Reps and state government as well, and the Commission for Culture and Tourism and World Energy. It's time to talk. Because, my brother, what we are seeing now is just the tip of the iceberg. And if you don't nip it in the bud right now, it's going to go crazier than this.
Before I go to Victor, let me stay with you, Segun, quickly here. This is coming from Ghana. The viewer is saying that we've seen Hollywood movies on terrorism and insurgency, but that's not leading to the advent of more terrorists. So does the movie industry in Nigeria need to educate the viewers more on the reasons behind the movies and what they are meant to project? Now you just reminded us of MAMSA and the NOA.
Okay, so I didn't get that right. I didn't get you.
A viewer from Ghana is asking, trying to draw comparisons, saying that we've seen movies, Hollywood movies on terrorism and insurgency, and he went on to say that again has not led to the advent of more terrorists. And he's asking the question, does the movie industry in Nigeria need to educate the viewers more on the reasons behind such movies so that they can have better understanding?
You know every movie has a moral to it. The bad guys get to be punished, the good guys get to be praised. Every movie has that. But if I tell you that if you see a movie and there's no moral to it, there's no story, then that movie has failed. And I don't think that's even a good pedestal for that question that he's asking. There are a lot of movies on insurgency. There are a lot of movies on terrorism from both Hollywood and in the UK and elsewhere. But for crying out loud, they're doing the job. The truth of the matter is, government should engage Nollywood. I heard KOK say this a while ago. They should engage them. Because even the American government, when they need to pass a message on that they're going to do something in the next 5-10 years, they use Hollywood to tell them to pass the message across. The British government is using the MI5, James Bond, whether I like it or not, they use James Bond to pass their messages on. So why can government emulate that and say, okay, let's pass this message on, let's talk to the youth, let's know how we gather these issues together and talk about a lot of things. There's unemployment to be talked about. There's education to be talked about. There's so many things to be. You do move on agriculture to encourage young staff going to farming, banking. There's so many things you can talk about. So many. It's a kaleidoscope. There's so many things for you to talk about. So let's not just continue with this argument or this discussion about what Nollywood does right or what Nollywood does wrong. We are not responsible for it.
Let me bring in Victor quickly here.
Before I talk, it's like smoking. When this smoking thing was going on and on, did they not come out and say advisory and say smoking is dangerous to your health? If you smoke, so it's there. Maybe we should start doing that as well. Who knows?
Okay, Segun, just a bit here. Let's go to Victor. Victor, listening to some of the, constitutional, provisions which Kanayo did, spell out. It means one thing in the minds of a lot of people: censorship. Does censorship limit the expression of art, even when it seeks to protect certain opinions in society?
Obviously, by the very word itself, censorship, it just tells you that's just an emasculating. The word itself is connotes emasculation of creativity, of free expression, of of even thoughts, not just words and actions. And you see, I think this came about during, the military regime. What should have been talked about is classification. That should have been the primary responsibility of this board. What it simply means is they look at it and then they alert the public on the various categories. And so even abroad, when you talk about X-rated movies and all that, nobody is banning them. What they're telling you is, hey, this movie, if you don't want anything to mess up your mind and you don't like that kind of content, that's what it is. And so it's liberal thought. If you don't like violence and language, you see there, it is liberal thought. So you know what kind of movie it is. And then you know not to allow children or other people under a certain age to watch them. You know those that are suitable for general family viewing and all that. So classification, it should have been a classification board. But of course, civilians have taken it over. And so in the usual manner, they have taken it to a whole new level. Censorship, look at what's happening in Kano, where creativity was almost taken to a level where just an actor or an actress just expressing themselves, even off screen, is enough to almost end them a death penalty. That is not right. That's what censorship represents. We should be talking classification. We shouldn't be talking censorship.
Now let's close on this note. It goes back to some of the key things raised by Kanayo, and it first specifically has to draw the reminder that there is a committee in the National Assembly that has been given this task without the government, that the executive waiting to see the outcome of this particular committee. Now, can I help us here? What's the way out of this? Because there's something about information is already out there, and love it or hate it, there will be some sort of, society that will start looking at Nollywood, how they say it on the streets, negatively, or the street language with a kind of eyes. So let us in on how this can be redressed.
Number one, the National Assembly must come out with a law like we have in Britain. It's called Unexplained Wealth Order. This idea of people running elections in Nigeria, somebody can't afford a car under 6 months, he has a brand new Jeep, cannot be excused on any platform. Secondly, the unemployment ratio is calamitous. It's gotten out of hand. Thirdly, peer pressure. The youths are in competition with themselves, and they form a critical mass of the population. They are not engaged. In fact, Nollywood is one industry, like I told you, that does not know about age, religion, or any other thing that employs anybody from anywhere. So most of them have ended up being actors, most of them have ended up being into production crew, and so on. So one would have expected that government will call, like Segun said, the critical sectors that government suspects or anybody suspects to a round table and say the venom with which a snake bite is healed is from the snake. How do we change the narrative? Not to do what was done, Segun Arinze, if you can remember. This was the same thing that happened in 1999 when Kingsley Ogoro tried to produce a movie called Guns of Biafra. And Asorok said, no, we don't want to hear anything about Biafra. The story was now changed from Guns of Biafra to Across the Niger. Sulaiman, we can't keep on running away from the responsibility. You can't keep killing our history. Biafra is part of our history. But let us make our children know that we must not fight this battle or war again. Let people, there's no agency that will be set up to begin to orientate people on, if you watch a movie, take out the bad parts. So that means that parenting must be re-emphasized. If my child does not smoke, but your child smokes, that means when they meet in the university, your child will make my child to smoke. So parents have a critical role to play. Well, so if we all take care of the family as the smallest unit of society, and children come to meet later, and we take care, and everybody's child has one value to create for the other, we won't be having this problem. There is hopelessness in Nigeria. There's helplessness. A girl goes out with a man. He brings back money because there's no food in the house. It is a politician who I voted for who gives that girl a brand new car, the brand new phone. Unexplained wealth must come in as a law at the National Assembly. This is the only country in the world where you run elections. There's no election budget. Just run it with 2 billion, nobody cares. Come up with 10 billion, nobody cares. We can't keep on going like this. These are the social realities Nollywood has been painting, and will continue painting it until the music changes.
I think this looks like a conversation that we must stay on. Listening to your closing statement there, Kanayo, and one big issue there has to do with the unexplained wealth, which doesn't exist here in the country. I'm hoping that when we do have this conversation again, Victor should be able to talk to us more on this, because for those who don't know, Victor also ran for an election trying to change the conversation in Nigeria. But we're really out of time, and I'm hoping that we'll have this again. Many thanks for being such company, Kanayo, Victor, Okhai, and of course Segun, Arinze. We're hoping that this will continue. We need to talk more about the unemployment ratio, the peer pressure, which you spoke about, and the unexplained wealth. There must be a bill that will ultimately become an act in the country. It's a fine place for us to leave it. For all those watching across the 54 African countries, I want to say many thanks for watching. I'm Sulaiman.